There's this golden rule of childhood television, right?
Yeah.
Especially from the 80s.
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
Nothing. And I mean, nothing is cooler than a bunch of smaller robots combining to form one single, even bigger robot.
It's the ultimate power-up. It's the combine mechanic. You see it everywhere.
Exactly. You've got 5 lions or 5 cars or whatever, and you just smash them together to clap.
And it's a brilliant marketing tool, let's be honest. Why sell one toy when you can sell 5 or 6 if you count the big one?
Right. It's commerce disguised as creativity. So when I saw we were doing a deep dive on Voltron, Legendary Defender, I have to admit I was a little skeptical.
I get that.
I mean, it's a reboot of a franchise that was literally built to sell plastic lions. My first thought was, okay, is this just a nostalgia trip, or are we just watching a very, very pretty toy?
And that was the assumption, I think, for most people when it was announced. Reboot fatigue is a real thing. These things are usually just hollow.
A hollow cash grab.
Exactly. But here's the thing, and it's really the main takeaway from our source material today. This show is the exception. Voltron. Legendary Defender isn't a tribute act playing the old hits. It's a complete deconstruction of the whole idea.
A deconstruction. That's a pretty bold claim for a show about a giant robot made of space cats.
It is, but you have to look at the pedigree. The showrunners, the creative team, they're the minds behind Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra.
Okay, see, now that changes things. That completely reframes the conversation.
It does, because that team, they know how to take a simple concept and layer it with real-world themes. So they took this idea that should be kind of silly, 5 primary colored lions fighting purple aliens, and they used it as a vehicle to talk about war, about PTSD, family trauma, political intrigue.
And real consequences. That's what stood out to me in the notes. It starts out like a Saturday morning cartoon, and
your floor just drops out from under you.
Yeah.
It slowly, episode by episode, transforms from this lighthearted space adventure into a pretty heavy space opera.
So that's our mission for this deep dive then. We're going to unpack how they pulled that off. We're going to trace the journey of these 5 misfits from the really terrible beginnings all the way to that very emotional, very controversial finale.
And we have to start at the beginning. But the beginning isn't even with the hero. The source material points out that the show opens with a prologue that sets completely different tone.
We're on Pluto, right? Or one of its moons.
Kerberos, a moon of Pluto. Feels like hard sci-fi. We have 3 astronauts, Shiro, Sam Holt, and his son, Matt Holt. They're just collecting ice samples, doing science. It feels very grounded, very real.
And then the genre just flips a switch.
Instantly, this massive, menacing alien warship just appears. It belongs to the Galra Empire. And there's no, we come in peace, no communication. They're just gone, abducted.
And that establishes the stakes right away. Earth is small, Earth is ignorant of what's out there, and completely, totally outgunned.
Precisely. And that event is the spark. We jump forward a year, and now we're on Earth at the Galaxy Garrison. It's basically a military academy for future pilots.
Top Gun in space.
Yeah.
And this is where we meet our main characters. Well, 3 of them.
Right. Lance, Hunk, and this is another one of those subversions the show does so well. You'd think the future pilots of Voltron would be, the best of the best, the chosen ones.
The ace pilots.
Yeah.
The top of the class.
Not even close. They are, and I'm not exaggerating, arguably the worst cadets in the entire academy. There's a scene, a flight simulation, where they fail so spectacularly that their commander basically tells them they're a danger to themselves and everyone around them.
So let's break them down. Who are these three students?
Well, you've got Lance. He's the designated pilot of the group. He's cocky, overconfident, thinks he's a real ladies' man.
But it's all a front.
It's all a front for some serious insecurity. He talks a big game, but you can tell he's not sure he can back. Then there's Hunk. He's the engineer, the big guy. He's a gentle giant who loves food, but he's also terrified of, everything.
He gets motion sickness, right, in the simulator.
He gets motion sickness in a flight simulator. He's an engineer who wants his feet on the ground, and he's been roped into this pilot program.
A pilot who gets nauseous. That's a rough start.
And then there's Pidge. Pidge is this tiny, socially awkward tech genius, super smart, can hack anything, but has zero respect for military authority and is very obviously hiding. So your team is a show-off, a scaredy cat, and a gremlin.
They can't communicate, they can't fly, they kind of can't stand each other.
But the one thing they share is curiosity, or maybe just a lack of respect for rules. They sneak out at night because they're picking up weird energy signals.
And they see something crash land near the base.
And it turns out to be a ship. And inside is Shiro, one of the astronauts who was abducted a year ago.
But he's not the same person who left, is he?
Not at all. He's escaped, but he's deeply traumatized. He has a glowing purple bionic arm. His hair is turned white from stress. He has amnesia, flashback. The source material makes a really apt comparison to the Winter.
For anyone who isn't up on their Marvel lore, can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. The Winter Soldier was a hero who was captured by the enemy, brainwashed, experimented on, turned into a programmable assassin, a living weapon. Shiro carries that same weight. He doesn't remember everything, but he knows he was forced to be a gladiator in Zark. He was weapon.
And this is where our fourth paladin, Keith.
Keith, the classic brooding loner with a mullet. He's an academy dropout. He was the best pilot they had, but he had discipline problems, so he got kicked to the curb.
And he's been living out in a shack in the desert, like some kind of hermit, tracking these same energy signals.
Exactly. He's the one who actually rescues Shiro, and our other three misfits just kind of stumble into the middle of it all and get dragged along for the ride.
So our lineup is a traumatized super soldier with amnesia, a hot-headed dropout, and the three worst cadets from the academy. It's not exactly SEAL Team 6.
It's more like SEAL Team Suck. But Keith, following these energy readings, leads them to this cave filled with ancient carving. And inside, sitting in the middle of, is a giant mechanical blue lion.
And this is the moment the show asks you to suspend your This isn't just a machine, it's something more, right?
It's semi-sentient. It has a will of its own. It has to choose its pilot. It analyzes them. And for some reason, it opens its cockpit for Lance.
The overconfident goofball.
The one guy who probably shouldn't be trusted with a car, let alone an ancient alien war machine, but he gets in, and the lion just takes off. It drags them on this insane ride through a wormhole that rips across the universe.
And they land. Where, exactly?
On the planet Earth, right outside the Castle of Lions, and this is where we get the classic egg dump.
They meet Princess Allura and her advisor, Corin.
Right. And they've been in cryosleep for 10,000 years. Allura wakes up, and the first thing she learns is that her entire civilization, Altea, is gone. Her father is dead. And the Galra Empire, led by Emperor Zarkon, has spent the last 10 millennia conquering most of the known.
The notes describe Zarkon as the Thanos of this universe. That's a heavy comparison. It implies he's more than just a warlord.
He is. He's an existential threat. He's practically immortal, and his empire is absent. Allura tells them that the only thing that ever stood a chance against him was Volt. But to form Voltron, they need all 5 lives.
So it's a fetch quest.
It's a classic RPG setup. Go find the other 4 MacGuffins. They have to retrieve the green, yellow, red, and black lions, which are hidden on different planets.
And the lions conveniently match their personality.
Of course. Pidge, the tech genius who connects with nature, finds the green lion tangled in a forest planet. Hunk, the steadfast, loyal engineer, gets the massive, tank-like yellow. Keith, the impulsive hothead, gets the fast and fiery red lion.
And Shiro, as the natural leader, gets the black lion, the head and heart of Voltron.
Exactly. So they have all they have the cars. The logical next step is, okay, form the giant robot, save the day, roll credit.
But the source material makes a really big point here. It's not that easy. Forming Voltron is actually incredibly difficult.
It's almost impossible. And this goes back to deconstructing that Combine trope. Usually in these shows, forming the big robot is just a button you press. It's the cool transformations.
Right. It's the easy part.
In Legendary Defender, it's a psychological barrier. The 5 lions are connected through a neural link to their pilot. To form Voltron, all 5 pilots have to be perfectly and mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
And given that this is a team composed of a loner, a traumatized soldier, and 3 book ring cadets, I'm guessing that neural handshake doesn't go too well.
It is an absolute catastrophe. They try to do it, and they crash into each other. The robot starts to form and then just falls apart because Lance gets annoyed at Keith. Their internal squabbles are literally preventing the machine from working.
So what's the solution?
Yeah.
Gordon tries to train them, right?
He tries.
Yeah.
He puts them through these very traditional, rigid military training exercises. March in formation, run through a maze, blindfolded trust falls.
Up, down, command and control style leadership.
And it failed miserably. It just makes them resent each other more. And this failure leads to one of the most important and, on paper, most ridiculous scenes in the entire first, the food fight.
I saw this in the notes and I had to laugh. A food fight saves the universe. It sounds like something out of a bad 90s teen movie.
It sounds so cliche, right? But if you break down the psychology of it, it's actually brilliant. Corin has handcuffed them together for some awful team bonding exercise. They're angry, they're hungry, they're stressed. And then Hunk just snaps and flings a bowl of this green space goo.
And all hell breaks loose.
Total chaos. But think about what a food fight really is. It's the great equalizer. It completely destroys any sense of hierarchy. In that moment, there's no leader. There are no cadets. Shiro isn't their commander. He's just the guy getting hit in the face with space mashed potatoes.
So by abandoning the attempt to be soldiers, they accidentally became a team.
Exact. They bonded through shared chaos and, frankly, by acting like kids. They let their guards down. They stopped taking themselves so seriously. And the second the food fight ends, the alarm goes off. A Galra ship is attacked. They run to their lion. First time.
The neural link worked. They form Voltron.
Perfectly. It's such a smart subversion. It says that true teamwork isn't about discipline or following orders. It's about empathy and understanding.
Speaking of understand, the team still has a lot of secret, and the biggest one belongs to Pidge.
Pidge's arc is one of the best in the first. It's revealed that Pidge is a persona. Her real name is Katie Holt. She's the daughter of Sam Holt and the sister of Matt, the other two astronauts who were abducted.
So she cut her hair, disguised herself as a boy.
To infiltrate the garrison. The military had classified the Kerberos mission and basically told the families to shut up and move on. She refused to accept that. She was there to find out what really happened to her family.
Which means her initial motivation isn't save the universe. It's entirely personal.
It's purely selfish in a way that's incredibly relatable. She even tries to abandon the team at one point to go search for them on her own. But Shiro stops and he reveals he knows her secret. He tells her, "I was there. I was in the arena with your brother, Matt."
And this brings us back to Shiro's trauma. We talked about the Winter Soldier comparison. How does the show actually use his PTSD in the plot?
It's not just backstory, it's an active part of his character. When the team fights their first Robeast, which is a sort of biomechanical kite created by the Galra, Shiro has a massive panic attack. He freezes.
He recognizes the monster.
He recognizes its fighting style. He fought a creature just like it in Zarkon's gladiator pit. But here's the brilliant turn. Instead of being crippled by the memory, he weaponizes.
He turns the trauma into a strategy guide.
Exact. He realizes, wait, I know this thing's weaknesses. I watch it kill other prisoners for months. He uses the knowledge gained from his worst experiences to guide the team to victory. It's such a powerful message about resilience.
While Shiro is dealing with his past, Hunk is finding his future. In the beginning, he's basically just comic relief, but the Balmera arc changes everything.
The Balmera arc is where the show starts getting into the real cost of the Galra Empire. The team travels to a planet called the Balmera, which isn't a planet in the traditional sense. It's a giant living creature that floats through space.
A living planet, like Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy,
Right.
But maybe less evil?
Much less evil. It's a gentle, crystalline animal, and the Galra have been strip mining it for energy crystals. But because it's a living being, the mining is slowly killing it. It's a very direct ecological allegory.
Avatar vibes.
Very strong Avatar vibes. And Hunk connects with the native Balmeran, especially a character named Shay. He sees their suffering up close.
And that flips a switch.
Completely. He goes from being the guy who just wants to go home and eat garlic knots to being the heart of the resistance. He organizes the locals, leads a rebellion. It proves that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting in spite of your fear because something more important is at stake.
So the team is leveling up individually, but just as they're getting their act together, we get a huge reveal about the main villain, Zarkon.
Yes. This is the twist that recontextualizes the entire show. In a major confrontation, Zarkon manages to get his hands on the Black Lion, and the lion responds to him. It recognizes him. It turns out Emperor Zarkon was the original Black Paladin 10,000 years ago.
Wait, what? The main bad guy?
Yeah.
He used to be the main good guy. That's a classic fallen hero trope, like Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly. But it adds this incredible layer of tragedy and threat. He's not just some alien conqueror. He's a corrupted hero. He knows Voltron's systems better than the current team does because he was the system. There's a scene where he uses his old Bayard, the Paladin's signature weapon, and he basically hacks Voltron from the outside, shutting down their weapon.
So he's not just beating them with brute force, he's outsmarting them with their own technology.
He's using his legacy against them. It leads to this absolutely devastating defeat for the team. They're forced to make an emergency wormhole jump to escape, and as they do, the witch hagger hits the wormhole with dark magic.
And that's the end of season 1. The notes call this the show's Empire Strikes Back moment.
It really is. The team is scattered, the wormhole malfunctions and spits them out in different corners of the universe. It's a classic narrative tool to force characters to grow on their own.
The most important pairing here seems to be Keith and Shiro.
Definitely. They crash on this barren, desolate planet. Shiro is severely injured, feverish, delirious, and Keith, the loner who has never taken responsibility for anyone, suddenly has to become a caretaker.
It's a role reversal.
It is. He has to hunt for food, tend to Shiro's wounds, and protect him. And in his moments of lucidity, Shiro keeps telling him, Keith, if anything happens to me, you have to lead Voltron.
Which Keith absolutely does not want to hear.
He rejects it completely. That's not me. I'm not a leader. But the seed is planted. Meanwhile, Pidge is alone in a space junkyard. It's her Wall-E episode.
Surrounded by scraps. But she's a tech genius, so that's like her playground.
It is. And instead of giving in to despair, she does what she does best. She builds things. She even builds a little robot companion named Chip. It reinforces that her strength isn't fighting, it's her intellect and her creativity.
And then we have Lance and Hunk. Their subplot is described in the notes as, and I quote, "The Little Mermaid meets surrealist horror."
Laughs.
That's a pretty good description. It's a massive tonal whiplash, but it's so memorable. They crash land in an ocean on an alien planet. They're taken in by this beautiful mermaid queen.
It's a paradise.
It seems like it. They're given this huge feast. Hunk is in heaven. But, if it seems too good to be true...
It's always a trap.
It's always a trap. The queen is actually a brainwashing monster, and the food contains mind control spores. Hunk gets hypnotized, and Lance, and this is a real thing that happens, has to wear a glowing jellyfish on his head as a helmet to block the psychic signals.
That is certainly a creative solution.
It is, but underneath the silliness, it forces Lance to grow. He can't rely on Shiro to give orders. He has to think strategically, figure out a weakness, and he ends up unlocking new abilities to the Blue Lion like a sonic cannon. It proves he's more than just the team clown.
So eventually, the team finds their way back to each other, but the focus snaps right back. He's been carrying this strange knife his whole life.
And he discovers a symbol that belongs to a secret organization called the Blade of Marmara. They're a resistance group, right? But they're Galra, the same species as the enemy.
Which is a huge deal. It shows that not all Galra are evil. Keith seeks them out, hoping to find answers about where he came from, but they don't exactly welcome him with open arms.
Their motto is knowledge or death.
And they mean it. They put him through this brutal trial. He has to fight endless waves of holographic enemies. He fights until he's bruised, exhausted, about to collapse. The lesson he's supposed to learn is to surrender, to admit he can't win by himself.
And when he finally passes the test, the knife awakens.
It transforms into a full sword, and they tell him the blade is made of a unique alloy. It reacts to both Galra and Altian technology, which can only mean one thing.
Keith is half Galra.
He has the enemy's blood.
And this does not go over well with Princess Allura.
It creates a massive rift in the team. Allura, who we've seen as this kind, benevolent leader, turns on. She is deeply prejudiced against the Galra.
To be fair, they did commit genocide against her people.
And the show lets you understand her racism comes from a place of immense trauma. Still race. She refuses to trust. She freezes him out. It's a really unflattering but very human moment for her.
She has to grow past that.
She does. It takes time. She has to see Keith prove his loyalty again and eventually but the show makes her earn that growth fix.
So the team gets through their internal conflicts just in time for the big Season 2 finale. They take the fight directly to Zarkon.
It's this huge, epic battle. And the climax is that they actually win. They defeat Zarkon. Shiro has this one-on-one duel with him and manages to put him down.
So Zarkon is dead?
Not quite. He's in a magical life support coma, but for all intents and purposes, he's off the board. The big bad is down. But as we all know, nature abhors a power vacuum.
And into that vacuum steps Zarkon's son, Prince Lotor.
Prince Lotor. And he completely changes the game. If Zarkon was the fist of the Galra Empire, Lotor.
Usually the son of the villain is just a dumber, more aggressive version of the dad.
That's the trope, but Lotor is the opposite. Zarkon ruled through hard power fear, conquest, brute force. Lotor is all about soft power. He's a politician, charismatic, intelligent, manipulative.
He doesn't conquer planets, he liberates them.
Exactly. He shows up and says, your old planetary governor was corrupt. I'm here to help. Join my new and improved Galra Empire, and I'll give you technology, security, prosperity. It's an intergalactic, and it's so much harder for Voltron to fight because from the outside, it looks like he's the good guy.
While Lotor is playing 4D chess, the Voltron team is in chaos. Because after the fight with Zarkon, Shiro is just gone.
Vanished. The cockpit of the Black Lion is found. This triggers a leadership crisis. The Black Lion, being semi-sentient, has to choose a new head, and it chooses Keith.
But Keith is the Red Paladin. This sets off a chain reaction.
It's like musical chairs with a giant robot. Keith reluctantly moves to the Black Lion. This leaves the Red Lion without a pilot. And Lance, in a huge moment of character growth, steps up and says, I'll be Keith's right-hand man. Red.
Which leaves the Blue Lion open.
For Allura, the princess becomes a paladin, which is an amazing development for her character. Yeah. But the new team dynamic is rough.
Keith isn't Shiro.
Not even close. He's a hot-headed, impulsive leader. His strategy is basically charge. And Lotor, being a master strategist, just runs circles around them. He makes them look like amateurs all over it.
And then, just as they're hitting rock bottom, Shiro comes back.
He's found on a Galra ship, adrift in space. But
the uncanny valley.
Very much so. His hair is long, he's acting strangely, he seems more aggressive, pushing Keith to be more reckless. And the most damning piece of evidence, he tries to pilot the Black Lion, and the lion completely rejects him. It won't let him in.
That is a giant roaring red flag. The Magic Cat doesn't trust you, so we probably shouldn't either.
But the team is so so desperate to have their leader, their space dad, back that they ignore the warning signs. It's confirmation bias. They want it to be Shiro, so they make excuses.
Meanwhile, Zarkon finally wakes up from his coma, and he is not pleased to find his son has been redecorating the Empire.
Not at all. He immediately declares Lotor a traitor and an enemy. So now we have a full-blown Galra civil war. Zarkon's faction versus Lotor's faction.
Lotor's on the run.
And in a move nobody saw coming, he saves the Paladins from one of Zarkon's traps and proposes an alliance.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. A classic.
So Lotor joins the team, he comes aboard the Castle of Lions, and he is incredibly charming. He helps them liberate planet. He even helps Pidge finally track down and rescue her brother, Matt. And he starts a romance with Allura.
Wow, that's a bold move.
They bond over their shared burden of leadership, of being the last of their kind in a way. It seems genuine. He talks about creating a new era of peace powered by something called quintessence.
We need to define quintessence. It becomes a really important concept.
Think of it as the lifeblood of the universe. It's raw life energy. It's what powers Altian magic, Galra technology, ever. Lotor claims he wants to access the quintessence field, an alternate dimension of pure energy, provide unlimited power forever. A post-scarcity utopia.
This sounds way too good to be true.
Because it is, and the whole facade shatters when Keith, who left the team to join the Blade of Marmara, and his mother, Crollia, stumble upon a secret facility.
What do they find?
They find a hidden colony of Altians, survivors of Zarkon's genocide, and one of them, a woman named Rommel, tells them the horrifying truth. Lotor didn't save these people. He's been breeding them.
Breeding them? For what?
He's been using them as a crop. He takes the ones who are most attuned to quintessence, tells them they're going to a second colony, and he drains them of their life force. He's melting people down to power his ships.
Oh my God, he's not a politician? He's an energy vampire on an industrial scale.
It is genocide disguised as salvation. And when Keith gets this information back to the team, the sense of betrayal, it's just gut-wrenching. Allura realizes she's been falling for the man who is systematically murdering the last of her people.
And as if that bombshell wasn't enough, this is when the Shiro problem finally explodes.
Right at that moment of crisis, the witch hagger, who we learn is actually Honor Merva, Lotor's mother, activates a sleeper protocol. The Shiro, who has been with the team all this time, he's a clone.
A clone! I knew it!
The project was called Operation Kuron. The real Shiro's body died during that fight with Zark. His consciousness, his soul was preserved inside, but the Galra grew a perfect clone, implanted some of his memories, and sent him back to be their spy.
And now the spy gets activated.
Clone Shiro attacks the team from within the castle. Keith is forced to fight him. It's one of the most emotional and brilliantly animated fights in the whole series. Keith is literally crying, begging him to stop, while this perfect copy of his brother tries to kill him.
How does it end?
Keith has to slice off the clone's bionic arm to incapacitate, and the clone's body dies. In a desperate move, they manage to transfer the real Shiro's consciousness from the lion into the clone's body, bringing him back.
So Shiro is back, but in a clone body. That's a lot to process. What about Lotor?
The team, fueled by pure righteous rage, forms Voltron and confronts Lotor, who has his own giant mech. It's a brutal fight, and they defeat him by overloading his ship with quintessence, leaving him trapped and presumed dead in the rift reality. But sealing that rift comes at a cost.
By Castle of Lions.
They have to use the castle's power core to seal the dimensional tear. Their home, their base, their only means of fast travel across. It's destroyed. They're stranded millions of light.
This kicks off the long road home, and the notes say this is where the show decides to get really weird again.
It does. They have to travel back to Earth the slow way, which would take months, maybe years. To break up what would be a very grim and boring journey, the writers drop in what is probably the most bizarre episode of The Feud.
A game show. After all that body horror and betrayal and genocide.
It's the definition of tonal whiplash. But I think it was necessary. The characters and the audience needed a moment to just breathe and be silly. This cosmic trickster entity forces them to compete on a surreal game show where the prize is not being erased.
Okay, that's a pretty good reason to do a filler episode. But the fun and games end when they finally get back to the souls.
They're expecting a hero's welcome, a parade. Instead, they arrive to find Earth under siege.
The Galra are already here.
A commander named Sendak took advantage of the power vacuum and launched a full-scale invasion. And this is where the show levels a really sharp critique at bureaucracy and denial. We find out Pidge's dad, Sam Holt, had made it back to Earth months earlier. He warned the garrison. He said, "A hostile alien empire is coming. We need to prepare."
And the admiral in charge didn't listen.
Admiral Sanda basically buried her head in the sand. She dismissed his warnings. She thought she could negotiate. She chose denial over data, and because of her inaction, Earth was completely unprepared and fell almost instantly.
That feels uncomfortably relevant.
It absolutely is. So the Paladins aren't just fighting an alien fleet, they're liberating their own occupied planet. It gets really personal. Hunk discovers his family has been forced into a labor camp. It's incredibly dark.
But Earth has a new trick up, the Atlas.
The IGF Atlas. It's this massive flagship of the Galaxy Garrison, and the newly returned Shiro, now with white hair and a new arm, is its captain. During the final battle for Earth, in a moment of desperation, Shiro realizes the ship's power source is an Altian crystal, the same kind that powered the Castle of Lions. He sinks his mind with the ship.
Oh no, don't tell me.
The entire battleship transforms into a city-sized humanoid mech.
It's a transformer. It's a giant transformer.
It's basically a Jaeger from Pacific Rim. So you have Shiro piloting a transformed battleship, fighting a giant Roby, while Voltron takes on the enemy. It is pure, unfiltered spectacle, and it's a huge moment. It symbolizes Earth finally stepping up and becoming a major player on the galactic.
So Earth is saved, Sendak is defeated, it feels like the end, but there's one season left, the final war. And the true final villain isn't a Galra general, it's a grieving mother.
Oh, Nerva. The wit. She's regained her memories and learned that Lotor, her son whom she abandoned, is dead. And Voltron is responsible, and she just breaks.
Her motivation isn't conquest, though. It's something much stranger.
It's so much more terrifying. She doesn't want to rule reality. She wants to erase it. Using her immense power, she starts searching the multiverse for one single perfect timeline where she, Zarkon, and Lotor were a happy family. And to do that, she's willing to destroy every other reality in existence.
That is existentially horrifying. The stakes are literally everything.
It's not about saving a planet anymore. It's about saving all of existence from being deleted by a woman consumed by... The final battle isn't even a physical one, really. It takes place inside. The Paladins have to enter her consciousness.
So they're not fighting with swords and lasers. They're fighting with therapy, essentially.
Basically, yes. They have to confront distorted memories from her past. They realize you can't defeat this kind of pain with violence. You can't just punch submission.
So what's the solution?
Allura, the princess. She reaches out to Unnerva not as an enemy, but with empathy. She convinces her to stop the destruction, but the damage is already done. The multiverse is fractured and collapsing.
It needs a massive infusion of energy to be healed.
A massive infusion of quintessence. And Allura makes the choice. She gives her own life, pouring her own life force into the fabric of reality to restore what was broken. She walks into the light, into the afterlife, hand in hand with Unnerva, the savior and the destroyer finding together.
Wow, that is a massive subversion of the princess trope. She isn't the prize to be won or the damsel to be rescued. She is the savior. She's the messianic figure who dies for everyone else's sins.
It was, and still is, an incredibly controversial ending. A lot of fans were devastated, but thematically, it feels earned. The entire show was about the cost of war. And in war, there are casualties. Allura makes the ultimate sacrifice so that everyone else can finally live.
And the show gives us a glimpse of that piece, right? The epilogue.
It does. It jumps forward 1 year later. We see Keith has helped reform the Galra Empire into a humanitarian peacekeeping force, allied with the Blade of Marmara. He's turned the ultimate weapon of war into an instrument of aid.
He turned his sword into a plowshare. And
Hunk starts a culinary diplomacy. He becomes a galaxy-renowned chef, traveling to different planets and teaching people to cook together, believing that if people can break bread, they're less likely to fight. It's so perfectly Hunked.
What about Pidge?
She's with her family, building the next generation of defensive technology for Earth, including a robot patterned after Voltron named Chip. Just pure innovation and creation.
And Shiro, the soldier who could never stop fighting.
He finally finds peace. He retires from the military. The last we see of him, he's getting married to a fellow garrison officer named Curtis. He's smiling. He's happy. He finally gets to rest.
Which leaves Lance, the insecure kid who just wanted to be a hero.
And this one is the most bittersweet. Lance is back on Earth, living on his family's farm. He's surrounded by people who love him. He has Altian markings tattooed on his face in honor of Allura. The show ends with him looking up at the stars, thinking of her. He found the confidence he was always, but he lost the love of his life to get there.
It's not a fairy tale ending. It's a real one.
It's earned. It feels true to the story they told.
It's incredible to think that a show that started with the premise of let's sell more robot lion toys ended up being this complex, mature meditation on grief, trauma, and the price of peace.
And I think that's the final take. It's a reminder that sometimes the media we label as being for kids is actually brave enough to tackle the profoundly adult themes that a lot of dramas are too afraid to touch. They never, ever talk down to their audience.
And that's why we're still talking about it years later. Well, that's our deep dive on the complete saga of Voltron, legendary defender, an incredible journey.
It really was a pleasure to break it all down.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.